Good morning. The Lord is good. Come on in, have a seat. Maybe you're exercising, getting ready to go to work. You're already headed to work. Maybe you're just chilling out with your coffee. Whatever you're doing, listen up and let God speak to you. Not because I'm anything special, just because we are opening ourselves up to hear. We're going to look at that today, how we can prepare our hearts and get ready to receive. I think that's part of what God's going to bring out today. We'll see. I don't have any notes written down. I know kind of what God was giving me. I was running a little bit behind this morning, letting it getting my things together this morning. But we're on now, and we had a little glitch yesterday. Some of you, good morning, Robin. It is Friday. It is Friday. What a deal. Morning, Mom. Good morning, Brad. Morning, Jeff Washburn. Yeah, happy Friday. You know, there is all kinds of different ways to approach all that. You know, it's the beginning of the weekend, and so that's always a good time. Well, usually a good time. Christy, good morning. Kansas in the house. We got. We'll see who we got on. I know. Yesterday we had a really good group on, and then my computer, or not my computer, but my internet broke down. It quit, and I didn't really realize how to fix it until I had to actually call. We get satellite Chisholm Broadband, and they had to change me to a different channel, increased our signal a little bit. So, morning, Scott Keller. Good morning, Mara. We're going to go to Proverbs chapter. I think we'll go into chapter 2, and I may go just kind of progress through Proverbs here for a little while. I don't know. There's some really, really good things need to be taught or can be taught here, and so let me get this line down here just a little bit better. And so, anyway, we're looking at chapter 2, and one of the things in chapter 1 and 2, he's talking about wisdom, and he's just encouraging people to follow God's wisdom. I think one of the things that I started as a young man in my pursuit of God was to gather that and go and start there. So if you got your Bibles, turn over there. Good morning, Sean. Good morning, Valerie. Good morning, Boyd Pete. All right, let's. Yes, it is the start of a new month too. I just saw that. Gosh, December's already here. Well, let's go to the Word today. Proverbs chapter 2, and he's talking about wisdom, benefits of wisdom. Is kind of there is the heading above this chapter in my Bible, but it says, "My child, listen to what I say, and treasure my commands. Tune your ears to wisdom and concentrate on understanding." Now, he shifts here from the chapter 1. He was just talking about the foolish who will reject wisdom. You know, the ones who won't listen, they won't take correction. You know, you think about it, and all of us learn different ways. Some of us have to learn by the School of Hard Knocks. And honestly, the School of Hard Knocks is a pretty good way to learn. You know, you experience things you shouldn't do, and chalk it up to experience and move on. I said yesterday, life isn't about being perfect. It's about how you respond to failures, to things that come into your life that you didn't plan, trouble when trouble comes, or battles come. How do you respond? If we can respond right, that's the key. And successful people in life learn how to respond and not let your circumstances rule you, but to rule your circumstances. And really, that's what God does, and enables us to do, is walk in our success is that we walk in the blessing of the Lord, that we walk in His provision, we walk in His wisdom is a big part of that. How do we receive from God His blessings, and how He desires that we do well in life, and so wisdom is following God and being led by Him. There's such a value there, and as a young man, I started pursuing that. Have I always been right and done perfect in this? No, it's a learning process. But here's the part of wisdom that comes. There's wisdom to stay out of the trouble or the problem or the mistake, but there's God in His grace and His love and His mercy walks us out of those as well. We can go back to Him and say, okay, now God, I messed up. I remember one great example is when we bought our first house. Sue and I were even talking about this today because we were just going back through some things. And our first house we bought too much house. It was too expensive. Our good credit got us into that house, but the interest rates were high. They were 8 3/8, which today is not too bad. I just renewed my operating loan. It was like 8.5%, and he told me, he said, that's actually the best rate we can get. Most everybody's getting 9.5 or 10 or 10.5, or he said a lot of people are. So that, but fortunately I don't that doesn't cost a lot. It's not like I'm that house loan that we took out at 8 3/4 was 30-year loan and locked in. Now you can refinance that, and we eventually did. My point is, the wisdom in that situation was to have been able to save and put more down or buy a different house. There was other things, but we learned in that. Now, after we were in that house for 9 months or a year, we realized that we didn't have any money because of that house payment. It wasn't because God wasn't blessing, it was because we didn't use wisdom. So wisdom said, hey, I want to tune in my ear to God's instruction. I want to concentrate on understanding what He's saying. And we came to God in that mistake. How we responded was, God, forgive us for going on our own, making a mistake. Now, Lord, help us, restore us to a better place. Guide us how to get out of that situation. Now, it wasn't immediate, but it was glorious the way God brought us through it. He began to show us ways to, I began to work on Saturdays cutting firewood with a guy, and he would pay me to help him, and we'd cut about 5 ricks of wood a Saturday, and split it and restack it on a trailer where he could deliver it the next week. So on that Saturday, it was a long, hard day, but it was at that time I was in an office full time in the ministry in the church, so I loved being outside and working physical. And so there was a short period of time where I was 4 years, I guess, where I was in that situation working in that office. But when we began to do that, now you say, well, at that time, it was in 1999 or 98. I made like 50 to $100 on those Saturdays. You say, well, that ain't very much money. Well, it was more money back then than it is now. But here was the thing. I didn't have to have all my problems solved by that one thing. It was God's wisdom. And what it did is it put me in a position to sow a seed into God's kingdom to produce something back for us. And out of that wisdom and that obedience, I took that money, and he would hand me that $50 or that $100 or $75, whatever it was for the day. And I would take that then and say, okay, God, here's a seed. What do we do with this? Direct us. And out of that obedience, we'd begin to give and direct that to the right place. And God then began to bring in other things. It was amazing. As a result of that, then somebody gave Sue a job to work at home because we just had our third child, and we couldn't afford daycare. We were away from all of our family. It was all on us, and so it wasn't like she could go to work and put 3 kids in daycare. I was limited on how much moonlighting I could do, with the ministry job, and so as we did that, we followed God's wisdom. See, that's what he says right here. He says, tune your ears to wisdom in verse 2 and concentrate on understanding. Cry out for insight and ask for understanding. This is right where we were at. And we said, okay, God, I've got these problems. I've got this situation. I didn't just say, God, help me, God, take it away. I said, God, show me how to work. I got myself in this mess. I'll get myself out. But I'm not going to get myself out on my wisdom, on my hard work alone. I want it to be through you. I'm willing to work. I'm willing to correct. I'm willing to adjust. I'm willing to change. God, show me how. And as we did that, then God directed our steps. We've made many mistakes or attempted things, took risks that it didn't pan out quite like we were going to or whatever. There's been multiple times where we've traded cars or we've bought cattle or we've done this or that, and it temporarily set us back, but we continued to move forward in things because we followed God's wisdom, even in the times that weren't the smartest move. I continued to be here. Now you say, well, why didn't you do that in the first place and you wouldn't have made the mistake? Okay, you're exactly right. And that's what I endeavor to do. But sometimes we make mistakes. Here's the thing though. You think about it, when has been the greatest learning period of time in your life? Most of us, at least in my life, it's been from how we're responding to something that didn't pan out like we thought. And I've done all the research on things before, planned everything as best I could with every bit of information I had at the time, made a decision, and then something outside of my control changes. The market completely changes. The thing, there's things that cause an effect, but God never changes. And if in my position before God doesn't change, in other words, if I just say, God, I'm with you regardless, I'm going to follow you as best I can, and when I make a mistake, I'm going to repent, correct, adjust, and get on your path. Boy, I tell you what, God, He will continue to take a person like that and grow and develop and bless them. The blessing of the Lord follows those who are obedient. He says, search for them, the instructions or the insight and the wisdom. Verse 4, search for them as you would for silver. Seek them like hidden treasures. First of all, you got to treasure the wisdom of God, and then you seek for it like a hidden treasure. It's funny, this barn that we've got out here was built in the 1920s, I believe, is what and it's got written on the wall in there in pencil. It's an big old hay barn, and it has written in 1942, April 6th or something, feed roan steer 1 gallon of feed or whatever, and it's got feeding instructions out there. And so, and when we bought that, there's an old grinding mill in there, and there's old feed sacks where they used to, I guess, grind feed for a feed company. And there's tags on those old gunny sacks. They're really cool. It says redeemed by January 1, 1965 for 10% off or something like that. I hadn't read them in a while. I don't remember what they said exactly, but they were pointing to a time and a history, something way back. And, when I bought this place, the person that was in charge of this estate, there was an old man that was still living here, and there was an old farmhouse and chicken coops and all this stuff out here that's all gone now. He said, that old man, I used to come and take him to town for groceries. And he said he would always go before, he'd always say, well, he said, hang on a minute, I'll be right back. And he'd go out to that barn and he'd always come back out. And he said, I always knew that he was going out there to get his stash. And he said, I think somewhere in that barn there's a stash of money. There's gold bars, or there's whatever. Well, after we bought this place, you know what I did is I went out there to hunt. And I've looked and I've tried to figure out where there could be something hidden. You know, that's the way we ought to pursue the wisdom of God. Now, I'm convinced there's nothing out there now. Wasn't real convinced there was anything out there. I wasn't sure that the guy wasn't just pulling my leg to start with. But I wanted to make sure, just in case. Wouldn't that be cool? Find a bunch of old gold coins or something. God's wisdom is more valuable than a pile of money. It's more valuable than property, than anything that you can attain in this world, because God's wisdom directs us, first of all, to Him, how to connect with Him, but it leads us through this life. So pursue wisdom. Pursue it like it were a treasure. In other words, I decided, and I maintain, God's wisdom is a treasure for me that's greater than any other thing that I can have. Well, listen, you guys be blessed today. As you go out today, just to ask the Lord for His wisdom. If you've been rolling along on your own without asking for wisdom, say, wow, God, I didn't know I could do that. I'm going to begin to do that. And He'll begin to lead, guide, and direct you. Begin to value the treasure of His wisdom, and begin to acknowledge when things go right that, hey, thank you, Lord. You blessed me in this. And you'll be amazed at how many times you see God at work in your life. So listen, go out and be a blessing to somebody out there today, and go get them for Jesus. Love y'all. Good morning, 10 Texas. Good to see you, Christina. Sean Mayfield, good morning. Sherry Arndt just had a big anniversary. Good morning. Bill Wilkins, hey, buddy, good morning. Tiffany, good morning. Ryan Owens, good to see you this morning. I think that's got everybody that I missed. Good to have everybody on here. Sean Summers, good morning. I don't know if I think I saw you. Anyway, y'all have a blessed day. It's going to be a good one. We got another big rain, like an inch, a little over, right at an inch, a little over, and I bet we got a little bit more than that up where all the grass is. We're building for next year's grass. That's and the wheat guys, the guys that got wheat in the ground, the wheat was definitely needing it. So, y'all be blessed today.